Hiya and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be looking at domestic abuse through a trauma-informed lens. Recently on the Sky News report for the UK, they said that reports of domestic abuse had gone up by a third, which is both horrible, tragic. It means that there's some really unhappy people out there, but it is also understandable. Just as we saw through the pandemic, especially the lockdowns, we saw increases in reports of domestic abuse. And we're now seeing them again with the increase in the cost of living crisis, where people are really struggling to meet their bills, to feed their children, to heat their homes. So, of course, tensions within the house are going to rise. I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you find it useful and helps you to understand what may be going on for you personally. If you do, please do comment in the comments box. Give me a like on that like button and have a look at my website and just see if there's anything I can do which may be useful to you, your colleagues, your friends and family. Welcome to my channel. My name is Shirley Green and my channel is called It's a Relationship Thing, where we explore all things to do with human relationships, the good, the bad and the downright dangerous. Before I get into this, I just want to acknowledge that two things really. One is domestic abuse is incredibly upsetting for many people. And so if you feel you're in a position where you're experiencing domestic abuse or violence at the moment and you're not, or you have done recently, and you don't feel able to deal with the subject, then please do turn off. The second thing I want to talk about is the fact that I know, having worked in the field for many, many, many years, there are some horrible, horrible people out there. There are sociopaths and psychopaths and high-end narcissists. There are people who are suffering from various personality disorders who again can cause uncontrolled harm to other people. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about people who have just experienced such a tough time, so much stress, so much anxiety in their lives at the moment that they've become overwhelmed and just left their window of tolerance. And this, I think, will account for the majority of the rise in reported domestic abuse. So the window of tolerance, I'll give you a quick recap. The window of tolerance is this space in our brain where we are able to think clearly and make good choices. We're able to learn, we're able to be empathic, we are able to be rational in our thinking. And when we slip out of our window of tolerance, when our sense of being overwhelmed or scared or fearful gets to a certain level, our primitive brain hijacks that top half of our brain, so we can no longer access that. So the behaviours that come out of this are very instinctive and unconscious. They're not a choice we make, it's a result of the pressure that we feel. And that's important because once we know that, we can find constructive ways of reducing the pressure that we feel. Maybe not out in the world, but we can within ourselves. So the main aspects of trauma-informed practice that come into an increase in domestic abuse relate to the choices that our amygdala makes at times when the level of threat and stress goes too high. And the choices that kind of are related to an increase in domestic abuse are fight and freeze. If you are living with a family and you are really worried about whether you're going to pay your bills, heating, food, all those things, then your level of threat that you are not going to be able to survive this is obviously increased. You also have the psychological threat of being seen as a failure or shame or not being good enough. So there's lots of pressures in there which can pull you out of your window of tolerance. And when it does, if you go into fight mode, you gradually feel yourself getting more irritable and then maybe more angry and possibly even into aggression if that level of threat is so high. For other people, they'll go down into the freeze place where gradually their bodies and their brains just shut down and they can't think. So imagine that, because we're talking about domestic abuse here, so you've got two people involved at least, there may be adult children as well, but if you've got two people and both of them are living within their window of tolerance, the level of pressure increases, and so they begin to go in whatever direction they go in. And gradually, imagine if gradually both of them end up going into their fight response. So you've got two people who are irritable or maybe anxious, getting frustrated, angry, and aggressive. The consequence of that is going to be instances of domestic abuse, because you've got two people who want to fight. Neither of them are consciously wanting to hurt the other person. This isn't about power and control, but it could have really serious consequences. If one of the parties slips into their freeze place and they lose the ability to think or communicate, which is what happens in that place, then you've got someone who is very irritable, angry, and maybe aggressive, trying to get some support from someone who has just zoned out completely. So this is going to increase their level of stress because they can't even get the support they need at this time. So both those scenarios explain why we see a rise in domestic abuse, but it also explains why we need to deal with it differently. Because the criminal justice system, which quite often domestic abuse is filtered through, is not going to help in this circumstance. We're just going to be adding to people's level of threat and their level of stress in their environment. So we're going to increase the amount of domestic abuse and the seriousness of it. So what we need to be able to do is to calm ourselves so that we don't get to that point and actually help people who are displaying aggression. I'm not talking about not punishing or arresting people who are aggressively violent, who are hurting people, who are causing assaults, especially sexual assault. So we need to have that criminal justice system, but we also need alongside that something that's going to help people to deal with their trauma response to the situation. If you are interested in this and you'd like some techniques for yourself because you were aware that maybe you're becoming someone you don't like, then please do check out my video, How to Stop Losing It or Shutting Down. Because as I said, that not only has a consequence on you, but also the people around you, especially at these times. And that will give you some techniques that you can use to stay calm and in control, that you can bring yourself back into your window of tolerance or expand it. But the other thing you need in these times of crisis is help from external people. I know that's really hard for people. They have a sense of shame, some sort of crazy belief that I should be able to cope, I should be able to do this for myself. Other people will look down on me, or I'll look down on myself if I have to seek support. Right now, just put that to a side for one moment and get the help you need, because we're all struggling and we're all in very similar boats. When I say all of us, most of us. I hope you found today useful. If so, please do press the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.